All right, in the first two videos, I covered how to take your measurements, whether you're on the dress form or on a body, according to the indications throughout Chapter 2. Then at the very end of Chapter 2, I referred to a table that shows you where to get the measurements. Beginning in Chapter 3 in your textbook is the steps in order to start drafting the front bodice, is what we will also begin with. On page 40 and 41 covers these. There are steps of directions that you will need to reference your measurement table or the measurements you took according to the placement or locations. And then the directions also incorporate a little bit of the wearing ease that is allowed within the sloper. So I had recommended in the last video that you go through all of those, reference your table for your measurements, go ahead and add that ease allowance to the measurement, and then make sure everything is converted to a decimal point. This will make then this stage of the whole development much faster and easier. So once you have got Illustrator up and running, you will need to create your new document, and we will go ahead and call this your bodice draft. Put your name or initials in there. Go ahead and set up the dimensions as 20 inches by 20 inches. Don't worry about the orientation, since you put in a perfect square of dimensions, that's fine. And click Create. There's our artboard on our screen. Go ahead and turn on your grid. All right, and then go ahead and do a save real quick. I'm going to use my keyboard command button, command or control button, and S, or you can go straight up to your file menu. Make sure you pay attention that it should have the correct name for the assignment, your name or initials also in the file name, and pay attention to which folder you are saving this into, so you will be able to find it when you need to upload your file for your assignment. Click Save and leave all defaults as they are. All right, in order to start off, let's go ahead and set up two layers. One will be a layer for our guidelines, and we can make that our first layer, guidelines, and then a new layer, which will become our sloper. All right, I'm going to go ahead and lock the sloper layer. Right now I want to make sure all my guidelines are placed all on the same layer. That way I can lock it after they are all drawn, and then draw my sloper on the top part and not disturb anything. Next, I will set up my attributes as I want them to appear on the page. I want a nothing fill, and my stroke, I'm going to go ahead and make it sort of a orange or pink kind of color, something that stands out quite easily. The other thing, I would like to increase my stroke weight to 3 points. It makes it a little bit easier to see when you're zoomed out on the screen. Now, the line tool is going to come in handy in setting up our sloper guidelines, and I'll show you why that is helpful. With the guidelines, we do not necessarily need them to be a connected closed path, because we're not going to be filling these in. It's the shape for our bodice that we want a closed path, but these can be all individual line segments in order to set this up. So I do want to make sure I have snap to grid on for a moment. Whoops, I think I turned my grid off. I want to snap to grid. There we go. That way when I click to start off, I am right on one of my points, and I will hit this intersection right here, single click. The line segment makes it so that we can type in our dimensions, so our lines are near as precise as can be. The other thing too is we can set our angles. On this one, I actually want my angle to be 90 degrees straight up, and I want the line length, this is for points A to B. I'm looking in my book on page 40. The full length of my front, and I will be using the dimensions 17.375. That is 17 3/8, and I will click OK. Now, it did set it up above out of my screen. So with it selected, I can use my shift points and bring it straight down. I'm sorry, I'm using my shift key and my keyboard arrows here. And probably down just a little bit more. There we go. That works out okay for now. There is my first line. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and move it up so that my top one is at one of the heavier intersections. There we go. So let's go and put some point letters here. I'm going to actually increase mine to 36 so they're easily seen when zoomed out. That's going to be point A. I'm using my Control or Command key to temporarily change to my selection tool, let go of that type box, and set a new one for letter B, and away from that. Now I need to set my letter C in the segment for that. I'm going to go ahead and use my eyedropper tool. With a single click, I can get the same attributes as my line before. My other keyboard shortcut is the backslash button. It's up by your delete button, and it takes me to my line tool. Now, my line tool, I can go ahead and, instead of snapping to the grid, I want to make sure that snap to point is on. That way when I go to start off things, I know I'm right at that point. So I will single click, and I want my angle to actually be 180. And my length from A to C is going to be across the shoulder less 1/8 of an inch. For in my case, that is 7.75. Your dimensions may come out different if you did your measurements according to yourself. All right, and my text right here, that's going to be point C. All right, great. At this stage, you might do a save real quick, just so that your changes are documented. Now, B to D is going to be my center front length. That is number 5 on the listing page. So in this case, I need to find and deposit a point along this line. So I may want to actually make my line a slightly different color than the ones I'd been using. So I think I might use this bluish color. Back out here, get my line tool, snapping to this point, and I want to make my angle 90 degrees, and I need my length on this one to be 14.375. and click OK. So now I know right where that point will be for this other line. Now then I need to mark and square out a line 4 inches from this point. So eyedropper, keyboard shortcut I, and then back to line, and I'm going to actually do it from here over to the side 180. I can type that in so I know that it is a very perfectly horizontal line. 4 inches. Great. So I've got that set. Now I should not need this line anymore. I will go ahead and delete it. I only needed it to find the point right there where to put that line that gets squared off. And then I can put my letter out here so that I know that that is D. Next one to mark is E. This will be from B to E. Eyedropper tool. Make it the same attributes as that line. And from B over to E is going to be 180 degrees to go to the left. And in my case, my dimension will be 10 inches. Click OK. And that point out here is now the letter E. All right. Let me zoom out just a little bit and put things in the screen. From E, we need to square a line up. It did not say how long, it just square up, it does say 11 inches approximately. So again, I want my guidelines to match the other lines. Get my line tool. Now, this isn't a specific dimension, so that I can click and drag. If I hold my shift key, it does keep it constrained to a certain orientations, horizontal, vertical, or a 45 degree. Now, when you click and drag, you'll notice that there's a distance reading, and approximately 11 inches was good for what we needed. I will let go there and temporarily click away from that. That's my first set for figure 1. That is what figure 1 should look like when you're all done. Go ahead and do a save at this point. Now I'm moving down to the bottom half of page 40. These are going to be the markings for figure 2. B to G. Oh, we missed a squared down line here from C, so I need to move my cursor so it snaps to that point at C. I am going to use my shift key, so I pull that straight down. Again, it does not say exactly how long, but approximately 3 inches should work so that I have a guideline to run into. Now, moving on to figure 2, B to G. This is our shoulder slope. So this line goes from B up to G, and my dimension is about 17.5 inches. So I'm going to read, because this is at an odd angle, I would not know what to type in there, but I can read the dimensions here as I move this line to hit this guideline coming down from C. About as close as I can get is 17.49. I think that'll work. That will now be the point for G. Okay, there we go. My next guideline is going to be G to H is the bust depth. In this case, it's going to be another line on top of this one, so I do like to make that just slightly a different color. And I am going to move in just a little bit so that I can see this. Line tool, I'm going to again click and drag and use it to get as close as I can to the dimension I need, which is in my case 9.3125. I think that's probably as close as I can get, and I will let up on that and click away from everything. This gives us an indicator for another little line right across here and our point H. So let me zoom right on in here. My eyedropper tool, get those pink attributes, and I'm going to add a point right here on the pink line. There we go. As well as I'm going to go ahead and draw a line from this point out just so it's easier to see. And when I click and start to drag, if I hold down my Alt key, it will drag from that point out both directions instead of just one direction. And I'm just needing a little bit of a cross line right there is all. And that is now going to be my point H. All right, temporarily let go of that. Get your move tool and move it in place if you want. Okay, I'm going to do another quick save to save that. That is G to H. G to I will be our shoulder length. So eyedropper, get my pink color, my line, and let's check what my shoulder length will be. It's going to be about 5 inches from G, hitting this line up here. And you can tell when you're going to intersect a line. See how it gets highlighted? And I am looking for the length to be approximately 5.18. There we go. That's as close as I can get. and click away from that. This will be letter I for that point. There we go. Next one is J to K is our bust span. All right, J to K. Square from J at our center front through H to K. So what we need is a point here on this line that is even with that one. There's a little bit different way to draw this, and what we're going to go ahead and do, whoops, undo that. What I wanted to do is get my eyedropper tool, change color to that, have my line tool, click, and my span is 4. Okay, I need my angle to be 0, and I will click OK. Now in this case, this is slightly past center front. That's all right because I used this point. You'll notice that I need to move it over so that the right-hand point is on center front, passing through H, and out here this will be letter K. That is K. And over here, this side is letter J. There we go. So now it looks much like what we have in the book. Let me zoom out a moment and then you can see what we have here. I'm going to go ahead and try and wrap up just a few more for page 40 in this video. We need D to L. D to L is going to be 1/2 of D to J. All right. We could do a couple different things here. We can draw a line from D to J and have an idea of how long that line is. I forgot to look at it though as we did it. So D to J, that is 7.13. We'll round it to 7. So we will undo that last one, and from here 3.5 would be half of, suppose I could have typed that in, couldn't I? 3.5 inches. There we are. And I'm going to change that to the purple. Go ahead and make it just a little bit thicker. And this will be our point L. Now from L over to our armhole, L to M is going to be across the chest. So last guideline here, get my guideline line segment tool, and this case I will single click. I need it to be 180 degrees to the left, and D to L is going to be, for my measurements, 6.875. There we go. And then also from M out here, I just need a guideline drawing from both directions up and out, and I'm holding down the Shift key. So Alt is allowing me to go both directions from that point. Shift is making sure it stays straight. So I'm going to let go of that out here. And B to F is our last one as we're nearing almost 20 minutes. So let's zoom in and do a segment in kind of our purplish color. Back to our line tool. And this will be for our dart placement. From here over, I will have a 180 degree line, and my line needs to be 3.125. All right, now then from there, I'm going to zoom in some more, go back to my sort of pink color whoops, get my pink color for my newest line, and from this point down, go back to my line segment, I need that to be a 270 degrees straight down, and it needs to be point 0.1875. There we go. And this is point F. All right, B to F. Do I have all my other letters in place? Let's zoom out. M, that's the other one that I need right in here. That will be M. Zoom out again. There's the starting of our guidelines. This is all on page 40. I'll pick up in the next video taking us through the remainder of the guidelines for the sloper front.